just want to give to you the perfect gift.
Okay, so happy Labor Day, everybody. Thank you for being here, and nice to be part of this gathering. Okay, Labor Day. Labor Day is actually the celebration of the labor movement, which is the union movement, the movement that has been happening for a long time, where workers, in order to get their fair share and not be exploited, joined together and found that when they joined together in labor unions, that they actually had a tremendous amount of power and could therefore get for themselves a greater amount of money in terms of salary and better working conditions, because the working conditions in the 1700s and 1800s were notoriously bad. Even today, there, of course, are still many things that can happen to improve the labor conditions. The very first Labor Day celebration, my research shows me, happened in 1882. So in 1882, a man named Peter McGuire, who was part of a union called the Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners out of New York City, decided that it would be a great thing for workers everywhere to just not go into their jobs, but to go into the streets and march down the streets of New York City. And so that was the, quote, first Labor Day parade. It was a parade of workers, and they had 10,000 people join them walking through the streets of New York City. And, you know, labor unions at that time were still pretty controversial, and have to realize that many of these people maybe lost their jobs because they didn't report to work that day. Then they went and, you know, did this first, quote, Labor Day parade of sorts. The very first labor strike actually was held in Detroit earlier than that, in 1837. And that city, Detroit, had been building up for some years because of the completion of the Erie Canal, which helped this whole migration westward. Remember, the Erie Canal only went as far as the western part of New York State, but that was considered the West, but it helped open up Detroit. And at that time, in 1837, Detroit was a bustling city of 10,000 people. And the carpenters had a labor strike in 1837, and they were striking for shorter work days. They wanted to only work 10 hours a day, and they were striking for more pay. They wanted a full 20 cents an hour. And it is said that they got their demands at that first labor strike in 1837 in the city of Detroit. So I've talked a little more about this in previous years. I just wanted to give you a little overview. In terms of our own labor situation right now in the United States, actually we have some cause to celebrate. The first Friday of every month, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, which is a government agency that keeps track of employment and unemployment, gives the statistics for unemployment for the previous month. And unemployment went down substantially in the month of August. It went down from over 10%, it went down to 8.4%. So only, by their calculations and the way they calculate it, only 8.4% of the workforce was actually unemployed. And that's down from a full 14.7% at the height of the shutdown and the shelter in place and the pandemic in April. So that's a pretty substantial thing. And I think that's a cause for celebration. That means there's less joblessness. More people are working, more people have money for basic necessities like food and shelter. It means there'll be less poverty. Less poverty probably means less social unrest. So things like the riots that we've had and the violent demonstrations, a lot of that will probably calm down as employment goes up and money goes up and jobs go up and access to food and shelter goes up. So I see that as a good thing, and it was a great statistic to have right as we were going into Labor Day weekend. So when I think of labor, and I think of a word that A Course in Miracles uses, which is actually the word vocation. And the word vocation, if you look it up in the dictionary, says a person's employment or main occupation, especially regarded as particularly worthy and regarding great dedication. And requiring great dedication. So a person's employment or main occupation, especially regarded as particularly worthy and requiring great dedication. So A Course in Miracles, of course, is talking about our true vocation, which is the vocation of being a healer, both healing ourselves and participating in the healing of others and the healing of the world. So there are several quotations that use the word vocation. David read, I thought, the most pertinent ones. One of them is the unhealed healer obviously does not understand his own vocation. So if we're going to be a healer, then the first thing that we have to understand is that we have to heal ourselves. So we heal ourselves, and actually our healing is the world's healing, and it is the healing of others. They're really all the same thing. But I think A Course in Miracles, of course, wants us to really work and look at healing ourselves, healing our own lives, our own minds, our own bodies, our own financial situation, our own living situation. You know, our life, I believe, should be a demonstration. It should be a witness to, in the best of our ability, the glory of the divine that we are living, that we should be manifesting, that we could be manifesting. So if we're going to be a healed healer, then we need to, of course, remember that healing has to include ourselves. Another one of the quotes is, Holy Spirit is the call to return with which God blessed the minds of his separated sons. This is the vocation of the mind. So this is the main occupation of the mind. It is what the mind can do that's particularly worthy and that requires great dedication. So we need to return. We need to return our minds to the totality of divine mind, and we need to return our minds to full creation. And we do that by healing while we're here in this plane. So the mind has a job, the mind has a labor, the mind has a vocation. And this is a great weekend to celebrate that. As we celebrate Labor Day and our labor, let's kick it up a notch and celebrate our true vocation. We may want to celebrate our worldly vocation as well, but let's celebrate our true vocation. Another quote, one that David read, it says, what better vocation could there be for any part of the kingdom than to restore it to perfect integration that can make it whole? So we want to restore ourselves and all our sisters, brothers, and others to perfect integration. Remember, integration means the intertwining, the way that we're all interconnected, the way that we can make ourselves whole, the way that we can make ourselves connected to our culture, our civilization. So there's a lot going on right now in the world with the election, and the election tends to be something that factionalizes people and makes people go to their particular camps. But we have a vocation. We have a true vocation, and that vocation is to perfectly integrate. So I gave a talk about a month ago, you know, the left wing and the right wing still fly the same bird. So we have to integrate. We have to integrate all these different points of view and realize that it's part of a totality. And then from that totality, we can reinforce and heal. And, you know, that's our our true vocation. And Labor Day and Labor Day weekend is a wonderful time for us to celebrate our true vocation. Okay, on a personal level. Okay, on a personal level, I've had some labor challenges recently. So I call them labor challenges instead of difficulties because that's how I like to perceive them. I like to perceive them as challenges, things that are challenging me to grow and to expand. Okay, obvious thing, the CMC's assistant minister decided it was time to retire. So we no longer have an assistant minister. That means that a lot of extra work that this person did is now back on me. And how am I going to integrate all that extra work into what I am already doing? Our conference last May in Los Angeles was canceled. Well, conferences are something that we use to spread the word, to spread the awareness. We get students from conferences, we get members from conferences, we make a little money on the conference. And so it's a labor challenge not having the conference. The 2021 conference is still planned, but the hotel where we're supposed to have it isn't open, and there's some question about whether it's going to open or whether it will be open to the extent that we can actually have a conference next May. So the conference next May is planned, but still a little iffy. The shelter in place has been very difficult for many of our members. It's been very difficult for, the whole society. And I've calculated, we've had about a 20% drop in membership since the beginning of the start of the shelter in place. So of course, that's a challenge. We lost 5 members just the past 2 weeks. I counted up 5 members, and that's a challenge. I tried to contact all the members. I've contacted most of them to, just dialogue, get their feedback, and it's various reasons. But what I see is, the whole culture that we're in, people are not at their best. Many of them are not making the money that they once did, and they're just not thinking the way they once did. And as we shelter in place and withdraw, many of them also psychologically withdraw. And joining with us is a way of expanding. And right now they're in more of a mode of contracting. I also found out that, it's not just Community Miracle Center. Talking to some ministers in some other churches, and a lot of churches are having this challenge, this difficulty. Shelter in place is difficult, and it continues now for it's about 6 months now that we've been sheltering in place, and it is triggering lowered feelings and depression in a lot of people. I mean, all you got to do is look at the statistics. The suicides are way up, drug addiction is way up, domestic violence is way up, mental health challenges for people with mental health issues, that's way up. And this all affects, us, and it all affects, of course, me personally. I think about the people that I have talked to and what they say, and basically the services that we provide or that we can provide now in this environment of Zoom and shelter in place without in-person services, in-person meetings, in-person conferences. It just doesn't seem to many people to be worth the amount of money that we ask for people to be members, which is usually around $30 a month. So I have to deal with all these things and my own thoughts and feelings about them, and I'll have thoughts about people don't appreciate what we do, and it isn't $1 a day value for them. And then with a few, not many, but with a few people, they project negative things onto me. And so some people, a few, are actually angry at me or dissatisfied with me, let's say, and things that I have been doing. So, that I have their contempt, and I have that to challenge myself with. And then I also have my own personal challenges. Look, I just miss our Sunday gatherings. I miss meeting people in person. I mean, this is great. I love connecting with all of you and the people that come, and I love seeing your face. I love seeing your face without a mask on. And I think, this is great, but I miss our in-person gatherings. I miss, having a cup of coffee and chatting and hugging you when you come into the room. And I miss us singing together. I mean, we sing at the gathering, but I only hear me. And I don't get to hear you all singing. I like to see your mouths move, knowing that you are singing, but I miss hearing the singing. I love singing. I miss the conferences that we did. I loved it, getting together with 200, 300, 400 people. I love everybody singing in the big auditorium. I love eating together with 300 and 400 people. I love listening to all those talks and just feeling the energy of everybody together. And, I miss that. It's probably very unlikely that we will have a Thanksgiving dinner this year. Okay, I've cooked Thanksgiving dinner for the congregation for 34 years. I love cooking Thanksgiving dinner. It's a lot of work, but I just love those gatherings, and that's probably not going to happen. And just look at today. I mean, I went back to get those early statistics about Labor Day, and I remembered that I gave a Labor Day talk, some time ago, but it was like 16 years ago or 17 years ago. I found it. But that's because for the past 16 or 17 years, we've been having potlucks and community voices on Labor Day Sunday. And so I haven't been giving a Labor Day talk because I've been busy with a potluck, and it's great having voices in the community give talks, but that didn't happen. So I miss those things, and I'm aware that this shelter-in-place environment, what we're going on throughout the whole country, it's very challenging for churches. Very challenging for churches everywhere. Even the churches that are meeting in person, they're meeting with social distancing. They're meeting with masks. My sister told me, her Catholic church in upstate New York can now meet, but they have to drastically social distance. They're all wearing masks. That means they can't accommodate the entire congregation, which means some people actually get turned away. And they, she just almost didn't make it into the church last Sunday. And she said she thought they was going to get turned away. Then they decided there was one place left for her to sit. This is a large church. And she says when she sat down and there with the mask on and almost not being able to get in, she said she just started to cry. It was just sad for her. It was depressing. Okay, A Course in Miracles says, you who are sometimes sad and sometimes angry, who sometimes feel your just due is not given you and your best efforts meet with lack of appreciation and even contempt, give up these foolish thoughts. They are too small and meaningless to occupy your holy minds an instant longer. So that's helped me all throughout the week. That's helped me when I talk to the different members or former members who were quitting. That helped me when I thought about all the things that we haven't been able to do, and when I started thinking about the 2021 conference that may or may not happen. And then I thought about the actual contempt that some people have projected onto me, or just the lack of appreciation that I sometimes feel. Those are foolish thoughts. Foolish thoughts. I have them, but I got to give them up. They're small. They're meaningless. There's no reason for me to let them occupy my mind. I want to return to my vocation. This is Labor Day. I want to think about the inspired work that we are all doing, that I am doing, that we are all doing. The work of the healing team. Many of us are on the healing team. Okay, that's part of our vocation. It's our job to read that email every day and read the inspiration paragraph, read the list, read the and you probably don't know, that I send those healing team emails out using our email marketing service, using Constant Contact. So that's not just like sending an email out from, my computer. In other words, I know who opens those emails and who does not open those emails, because it gives me a report. Now, I don't spend a lot of time looking at those reports because they kind of bring me down. And I don't have the time. But, on an average, about 60% to 70% of the people I send those to open them. But that means that 30 to 40% don't open them on any particular day. And if I want to, I know who you are. So just think about that the next time you're deciding whether you want to open that email or not. Why not? Why not? Or why miss the inspiration? Now, maybe some of you did not open the healing team email that I sent out last night, but you really should, because it's a wonderful testimonial from the child, the baby, actually it's about a 2-year-old, Jolie, that we have been praying for. And there's a picture of Jolie and her mother, and it's a report from her mother about how Jolie is doing so much better. And it's her mother really thanking us for doing our job, for thanking us for the labor that we put in, and thanking us for us being dedicated to our vocation. And even if you've already opened it, maybe go back and look at it again and just look at the little child, Jolie, and her mother, and read what her mother says and how grateful her mother is to us for us fulfilling our vocation. And take it in. The world wants us to fulfill our job. The world wants us to do our labor. Course in Miracles says, the sick who ask for love are grateful for it, and in their joy they shine with holy thanks. And this they offer you, who gave them joy. So in this case, it's not the baby, Jolie, but it's Jolie's mother. And just think about the joy that the mother has when they didn't know if her little daughter was going to make it. They actually thought maybe the daughter would not make it. But now the daughter is getting well, and the mother is just so grateful for all those who prayed for her, for Jolie. And we were part of that. That was our job. That was our work. That was our vocation. Sometimes I think about the thing that Jesus said in the Bible. So there's the Bible story that appears in Matthew chapter 26. It's the right before Jesus is taken away to be crucified. So he's in the Garden of Gethsemane, and Jesus knows what's coming down. And he's in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he goes there with Peter and 2 other of the apostles. And it's a very interesting thing if you read it, because the gospel, Matthew says, Jesus tells them that he's exceedingly sorrowful, that he's having a hard time. Jesus tells Peter and the other apostles that he's sad, he's sorrowful, he's exceedingly so to his soul, he says. And he asks them to wait a little bit with him. And he wants to go off by himself for a few minutes to pray and compose himself, which he does. And that's where he says that famous thing, if this cup could pass. But when he comes back, he finds that Peter and the other apostles are asleep. And he says to them, all right, this is the Bible passage, and then he came to the disciples and found them sleeping. And he said to Peter, what? Could you not watch with me 1 hour? a little bit of sarcasm there from Jesus's point of view. But I think about that with the healing team sometime. And when I look at the quick list of the people that didn't open the email, it's like, what? You couldn't open the email. You couldn't read this thing 3 minutes. You couldn't spend the 3 minutes to read the email. It's our vocation. It's our labor. And it's joyful. Read again Jolie's mother and get the joy and the gratitude. Who wouldn't want to do that? Who wouldn't want to have that job? I know I certainly do. And I get a great deal of satisfaction from it. It's my vocation. It's my main occupation, as the definition says. It's particularly worthy. And yes, it does require great dedication. 3 minutes a day, that's a great dedication. But the value of it and the worth of it is just amazing. So Labor Day weekend, let us remember our job, however we do it, whether we're on the healing team or not, what our vocation is. And let's truly celebrate it. We have a great vocation. It's awesome. It's awesome to be able to fulfill this function. And let's also remember, Labor Day is really the celebration of unions. And we have a healing union. We have the healing team, but we also have the union of just being joined with other spiritual healers and teachers everywhere. So we have so much more power because we're doing it together. And just like the unions do too, that there's great power in us coming together. There's great power in us coming together as healers. And I look at my challenges this past week with the members that left. I look at them, my guidance is to look at them as prodigal sons who are wandering out in the far country, and they can come back anytime. And when they come back, we will have a celebration, and hopefully we'll be able to have potlucks soon, and Thanksgiving dinners and conferences. And I'm always open to the prodigal sons and daughters returning. I just want to end with one last little thing, because tomorrow is actually Labor Day. So Labor Day is really unique in the terms of the holidays that we celebrate. So most of the holidays celebrate something specific or a particular person or a particular event. So the 4th of July, the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Christmas, celebrating Jesus's birth. Memorial Day, we celebrate soldiers and the military people, especially those who fought in wars and especially those who gave their lives. So most holidays, President's Day, we're celebrating President Washington and President Lincoln. So holidays celebrate either unique, famous persons or huge events, signing of the Declaration of Independence. But Labor Day is not like that. Labor Day celebrates common people. It celebrates all of those who work, which is just about everybody. And certainly for us who work in healing, spiritual healing, it is truly all of us. So Labor Day is a unique celebration because it's a true celebration for the people, for all of us. It celebrates all of us. So for the rest of the weekend, and certainly tomorrow, take it in. Labor Day is your day. It's our day. It's our day to recognize how much stronger we are when we do our vocation in union with our fellow healers, and how much joy and gratitude there is from the world when we fulfill our vocation. So happy Labor Day.
I just want to give to you the perfect gift today. I just want to give to you the gift of joy today. I just want to give to you the gift of peace today.
Just want to give to you